Dimp Digital Presents Idle Game Chat.
Hello, Apps here from Dimp Digital. Welcome to Idle Game Chat. This is the weekly video games podcast where we give our impressions of the games that you can play today and react to the latest news from the wonderful world of video games. We're here every Monday on your favourite podcast app and YouTube, absolutely free. This time, I'm joined by the former Dimp Digital Fantasy Gaming League champion. It's one of the very, very first people we had on the podcast way back in the day. It's the OG. It's Hall. Hall, how's it going, mate?
Hello. Very well, thank you. Your fine self?
Yes, not too bad.
Jolly good.
I can't remember the last time we had you on. I think it was for either Game of the Year or Game of the Decade. Did you go on that one, or did I have Adcock on? I can't remember.
I can't remember. It's been quite a while, though. I don't feel like we've done one in a long time. So, it's nice to be back.
Good. I've just opened I think it's German, this beer. It come out of Beer 52, not sponsored. It says...
Not yet.
Not yet, no. Come on, boys. Got a golden ticket here to give away, actually. Weizen, which I didn't realise was wheat. So that's... I've never...
Wheat beer's poor.
Yeah, I've not had one before, but I'll let you know halfway through.
I've never been a fan. Someone, my missus used to drink Erdinger loads.
Oh, what's that?
And it's a wheat beer.
Oh, right.
And it's absolute garbage. I couldn't stand it.
It's all right. I'll see how it goes. Maybe we'll check in later on how the wines. It's Burro or something. I don't know. The trouble is with that Beer 52 is you get a load of stuff in that you've never heard of. I suppose it's part of the charm, but
it's always the risk, though, isn't it? It's like the old. I like a multi-pack of ale. Yeah. And you buy that, and then you get it, and like 5 out of the 6, you're like, oh, they're really nice. And then there's one in there that you're like, oh, that's just poor.
It's fucking horror show.
Yeah, I need that replaced by. So you have to drink it last, so that you're suitably pissed and you don't really notice.
That's certainly the way to do it. Well, this is it. This is our final stop before next generation glory. So we're here to cap it off. Take a little look back on the Xbox One, because I know people are like, well, by the time they're listening to this, they're like, we're hours away from the Series X and S launch. There's all sorts of news and impressions out. They've unboxed it. I've done all that. Yeah, I'll go whatever. Look, we need to put a nice bow on our current generation as we reside in it now. And this is the generation that spawned Dimp Digital, 2014. We potentially would not be here without an Xbox One and a PS4. So PS4's in the books. The Xbox One needs to be talked about. It can't just be left in the lurch. And actually, there's actually some probably more interesting stories that came out of the life of the Xbox One than the PS4. On the game front, probably a bit light, but it certainly had its ups and downs throughout the generation itself. Now, before we start the incessant babbling, I'm going to say to you guys, you can head over to patreon.com/idlegamechat and become one of our patrons to support the podcast and the wider Dimp operations. So patreon.com/idlegamechat is the place to go for that. Now, we're going to talk like a little bit of hardware, a little bit of launch, a little bit of the stories, some of our favourite games or games that we enjoyed or we feel that they're attached to the Xbox brand. Doesn't mean they're not available on other platforms, because we actually had a really short discussion before over what's eligible for this, and there's a lot of cross-pollination going on now. But I think the ones that we're speaking about, you could genuinely say, that's an Xbox game, even if it's technically not true. It was either developed or published by an Xbox studio initially, but they've been a bit more forthcoming with putting their products onto other storefronts. So the true kind of console exclusive for Xbox doesn't really exist anymore. And we've seen even with the PS4 that slowly eroding with Horizon and other games going onto the PC as well. But I think we need to turn back the clock, Hall, and think about why I'm sitting here 2 weeks ago listening to Adkins and he's saying he's calling you Mr. Xbox, not in a bad way, but he says I'm sort of the PlayStation guy, and then you've got Sergeant Hall, who he sees as Mr. Xbox. Is that a fair label to throw at you?
Yeah, so it's hard because I do love my Xbox, and arguably I'm definitely more pro Microsoft and more pro Nintendo than I am Sony.
Yeah.
I've always I had a PS2. I didn't have a PS1 growing up.
Cool.
I had a PS2.
That is third world.
Well, that's it. I've got one now.
Yeah. Of course.
But yeah, I didn't have a PS1, had the PS2, but didn't play it loads. I was more GameCube at that time.
Yep. You had N64 as well, didn't you?
Yes. I was a Nintendo boy growing up. But yeah, I'm definitely more Xbox now than I am PlayStation, and it's been a tough generation. Let's be honest for Microsoft in comparison. I think when we were talking Game of the Year or Game of the Generation, rather, I should say, which I'm sure you'll do a podcast or there's one out with regards to that.
Yeah.
It's tough to pick anything from the Xbox generation that has really, really stood out. Even coming up with a list for this kind of discussion, it's more picking what games are Xbox exclusives or can be classified as Xbox exclusives rather than anything else. Yeah. I'd still consider myself more Nintendo than I am Microsoft or Xbox.
Hung Phil out to dry.
Yeah, I mean, I can't get away from the fact that I love Nintendo. I love the characters. I think that's because I grew up with it more than I have. And plus, it's hard because, I mean, what characters are there on Xbox that you really care about that much?
Marcus Phoenix.
Yeah, well, he's been fucking dragged up from the dead like 8 or 9 times now, poor fuck. He's like 100 years old. Let him die.
Yeah. Master
Chief. Well,
who is he?
Yeah. Give me something to care about with him, but you know the likes of Mario and Link and Co. and Donkey Kong never going to go away. So
no, they won't.
Yeah, maybe more Nintendo than I am Xbox, but I got suckered in by achievements for a long time on this generation. It really hurt me.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Oh god, don't remind me. It was a dark time in my life.
Well, you got to 100k first, so you'd always.
I did. I was looking through my old tweets a while ago to have a look at some of them, and December, it was 2 years ago, so it must have been December 2018. I got about 12,000 G just from playing the shittest games and just ploughing through them. I was going to CEX to buy fucking Avatar and Fight Night and all of the quick ones, and I was just ploughing through games. And like I say, I pumped out about 12,000 G in December, which, considering I was working full time as well, wasn't a bad result all in all.
No, yeah, the achievements is a big thing for people because they were originally formed on the Xbox, and then PlayStation basically copied it with their trophies and kind of tweaked it very slightly, but the same idea was there. And if you'd asked me when that first come out whether developers would bother fucking spending man hours putting that shit in, I'd have said no chance. But here we are in 2020 and it's still very popular, and still to this day Nintendo gets shit about not having any on the Switch.
Yeah, which is crazy on it.
Yeah, it is a bit of madness. But we go back to we both had 360s, so I think I certainly found the 360 a great console.
Stack of 360s.
Yeah, you've got several. I mean, the other one's just broken, or did you just buy a load of the different variations?
So I've got 7 currently. I think 4 of them are red ringed, and then I've got maybe. I think I was getting so fed up of buying new ones when they red ringed that I bought a pre-owned one that still works. Right. And then I've got 2 Elites. The old Elite and then the new Elite, which was the new body, and then like an old shitty arcade one that's still floating around somewhere.
That's a good haul of 360s.
I mean, it's really, when you think about it, it's a bit silly, isn't it? I mean, it's a lot of money that's been invested in a console that was fundamentally broken.
Yeah, I thought you could send it back and get it fixed at some point.
Yeah, I just can't bring myself to do that. So I'd rather buy a new one.
Well, that's one way of doing it.
Terrible, really, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh well, at least you've got a nice collection there that might be worth something.
oh wait, there was literally 100 bazillion that were created, so they're never going to be worth anything.
True. But when we eventually get the Dimp Digital Museum, maybe we can put a few in there and let people can come and visit, pay a pretty penny to see those, I reckon, that collection. Yeah. But we got into year 2013, and then that's when the big talk around next gen, current gen started emerging. And I really think that the Xbox One has had a tough generation in many ways. And to me, a lot of it can be traced back to that E3 where they announce pricing, they reveal the console properly, and they market it to the gamers. And the eventual release date was 22nd of November 2013 for us here on this wonderful island of ours. But the months leading up to that, for me, just felt like a complete shit show from Microsoft. Like, they misread the room and presented a console and more of an entertainment box that didn't really grip me as a gamer, I'm being honest. When I was watching through that announcement, I was like, what is all this? And some of the things that led to that was Kinect being sort of bundled in as a standard feature. Like, I never had a Kinect on the 360. I didn't realise it was this amazing thing that everyone had to have. But nonetheless, Don Matrick
It's
because it wasn't. Yeah. Don Matrick decided that needed to be bundled in at a cost. So when we come to price, we'll understand why there's a bit of a discrepancy there. They championed this kind of unique gaming license system where games would be bound to your account, even retail discs, and the disc was just purely there as a key, which isn't dissimilar to what happens now. But their main point was that disc could not be sold on, or it might be restricted in the way you could sell it on. It was a bit of a muddled messaging. One of the cool things that was mentioned in that and didn't come to fruition, but is now there with Steam, is that there was a plan in place that you could share your digital library with up to 10 others in like some sort of family membership, which is actually 2020. That is a very forward-thinking idea to have in 2013. It's just a shame they bundled it with all the other shit that they fucking presented on that day, and it all got wiped out. Because imagine how cool that would be, just to be, I could have access to your library, you can have access to mine, and you can do this on Steam with up to 5 others. The only restriction is you can't play the game at the same time, but still.
Yeah, so you can do that with Xbox currently, but not with up to 10 people.
Right.
It's through the Xbox family, and I think it's 3 people or maybe 2. Someone will, I'm sure, correct me in YouTube comments or wherever. But it is available because I know some friends. I know some friends that have done it, and and literally share games over. Only digital games though is what I would stipulate. Yeah. It's only qualifies for digital games. But yeah, you're absolutely right. Like the whole build up to it was kind of bizarre almost. Like. There was the inclusion of Kinect, and they sold it as Kinect that was going to be huge and really important. And it was you were buying a multimedia system. You were buying something that was you were gonna plug your cable or your television provider, satellite television provider into, and it was going to run through your box at all times and all the rest of it. And fucking Muggins, you're brilliant. Yeah, I use all those things. Yeah, I'm in. So, like, for the longest time, I had, like, in the UK, we have Sky, and it is the main satellite provider, and I had my Sky running through it, and I used to use Kinect to turn my Sky on and to change the channel, and it was just like, it took me probably a good 3 or 4 years to realise how shit that system was, how unnecessary it was. It was more awkward to fucking say to Kinect 6 or 7 times Xbox on than it was just to go and push the middle button on my controller.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
It's the way it was bundled at the time. I could see what they were going for. I really could, but I feel like kind of PlayStation and Xbox went off in 2 directions, where PlayStation said, look, we're going to focus on being a games console. We're going to get really fucking good games.
Yep.
And we're going to focus on what you want. And Xbox went, we're going to make an all-around system that's going to live in a lot of homes, sort of. And I kind of admire Xbox because at the time there wasn't anything like Alexa or like OK Google or Siri or that kind of stuff. It was only in the
or even like, I don't remember smart TVs being a big thing back then, where you could get Netflix and YouTube on your TV.
Exactly it. Yeah, it was in its infancy. If it was there, it was a new technology, and I think what Xbox were going for was kind of trying to build into that. They kind of semi-preempted that, but they just did it terribly by forcing you to integrate with the Kinect hardware, which was so bad. Like I had a couple of Kinect games and they just didn't work very well, and you needed a fucking mansion with a room that was bigger than most people's houses, and it was like, I lived in a 1-bedroom flat in central London, and it just
loads of room.
It was there. Yeah, it was just pointless. Like, it was absolutely pointless. So it was a honestly, it was a rough start for the Xbox One, and I mean, it didn't get loads better as the generation went on, if I'm completely honest.
No, there was those things that we spoke about. The TV integration was the big thing. I think I tried it a few times, and it always felt like the TV was stuttering. I don't know if it was my Xbox or my telly.
No, yeah, it jarred up and froze and all sorts of shit. And
I was like, well, if I'm using this as my actual telly system as well, it needs to fucking work all the time. I can't be having this.
I mean, I just persevered and went, no, it's fine. That's part of it.
Yeah.
And my wife was getting so aggravated.
And the other two things that I think really hurt it was not just those sort of features being shoehorned in. Eventually, the game licensing, the DRM sort of stuff went back on it. But initially, they said it's an always online console. So you'd need to check in every 24 hours.
Yeah.
And I mean, look, the thing about that is that they're right in saying that pretty much every device is, always online to a certain extent. But why? Why do I need to do it? Why do I need to run the risk of me having a power cut or me having the internet down where I can't log on and just play
absolutely mental
crashes? It's like,
and that forced you to do updates as well. Yeah. So like that there was no choice as to whether you wanted to update your game or when you wanted to update your game. It really forced you to do it. And I remember it becoming a real problem. It was a Christmas time. I mean, I don't know how long ago, 5 or 6 years ago, where I got a bill through from Sky, who were my broadband provider at the time, saying you've gone so far over your usage allowance that we've had to charge you. And they charged us like 260 quid.
Fuck me.
And I was like, there's no way I've downloaded that much. Don't be fucking silly. Like, we weren't even there. No. It was Christmas. We were both, like, my wife had gone off to see her family and I went back home to see my family. So we weren't even in the house. Like, go and fuck yourselves. There's no way that we've spent all this money. And I came back afterwards and it was only like a few months later that I found the little screen on the Xbox that shows you what your download capacity was or how much you downloaded over X amount of time. And for like the 2-week period over Christmas, my Xbox downloaded like 6.4 terabytes of data.
Yeah.
And it was just it obviously decided that it must have just uninstalled and reinstalled games over and over and over again for whatever reason without anyone telling it to. But I mean, I got a refund from Sky. So, I mean, I was happy because they were like, okay, it must have been a glitch in the system, but it was 100% my Xbox just going berserk.
Yeah. Yeah, and imagine if that was a false operation, like you couldn't get at that. Yeah, they went back on that eventually, but you still have the rest mode where you can leave it kind of connected semi, and it will update in the background. And so you had this.
I mean, it's a good feature if it works, but I mean,
don't force people to use it if they don't want to.
Yeah, exactly. If you want to, like, if you're buying a console for your kid and you don't want him to be online 24/7, like, what was he meant to do? That was mental. That was such a bizarre choice for them, and it really, again, it started them off on the wrong foot.
Yeah, and like they fixed most of these issues, like all the stuff people moaned about, other than really Kinect being like a standard feature and the TV integration, like the other 2 points. They went back on it and said, we're not going to force you to do that, and everyone was like, okay, but by that point, the trust had already been broken.
Yeah. It was too late. And
well, they made out this big thing. I was like, oh, it's impossible. It's really, you don't know how hard it is to change like the infrastructure to. And then literally 3 days later, they went, oh, it's off now, so you haven't got to worry. It's like,
we've been working out solidly for 3 days. It's like, have you? Yeah. Or has Jerry walked to the corner and fucking flicked the switch?
Gone right, take that feature out.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, it was nuts. And then the other kicker, really, and I think this is what, as well as everything else that had happened or had been publicised, particularly in like the core gaming market, which, you know, early doors is going to be a big market, those enthusiasts, was PS4 comes in at 350 UK pounds, Xbox One 429 UK pounds, and a lot of people say it's because they bundled that fucking Kinect with it. Needless to say, whatever the reason was, £70 difference for very similarly powered machines, although it'd go on to be, you know, became apparent that the PS4 had a bit more guts in it as the time went on. But that's just a no-no, isn't it? We've seen with this upcoming generation how they've priced exactly the same pretty much, because you can't really be going higher than the other one, because people just go, well, I'll go and get an Xbox then, or I'll go and get a PS5. It doesn't matter. If it's money to be saved day one, the audience will go there.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly it. And I think if you've got Xbox, that 70 quid price difference, like you say, is definitely because they were going, oh well, we've got the multimedia experience of ours. And as we said earlier on, a lot of gamers just went, yeah, but I don't fucking want that. I want a games console. And so a lot of people went PS4 to start with. And I felt the other thing that hurt, that we're obviously going to come on to, is that it's all well and good charging an extra 70 quid if you've got the first party exclusive games to back it up, that are going to draw people in. Like this current gen that's coming out, the PS5 versus Xbox Series X, we're looking at the titles that are at release, and a lot of people are going to make their decisions based on the exclusive games that are coming out for each of those consoles. When in reality you look back at the Xbox One, especially at launch, what exclusives it had.
Rise.
I mean, it was fucking dreadful. Like, Rise Son of Rome was fun for a very short period, but it was like a really, really shit Assassin's Creed combat. And it was so linear. Like, it was so linear. It looked good. It looked great at the time, you know, for a first. But that was the point of it. It was a graphical demo. It wasn't a full game. And I mean, we're saying Rise Son of Rome, but I mean, realistically, how many Xbox games are there that we didn't even consider any for our game of the generation?
No, yeah, and that's the the hurtful thing for Phil, is that even after the initial kind of release, they had a bit of a clear out in leadership, and we got Sir Phil installed in 2014. But even then, like, their output of first party been pretty diabolical in comparison. When you compare it directly to what Sony have done, and you can always argue, oh, their games don't fit my taste, I don't like third person action adventures, and that's all fine, but you still have to look at the output and the volume and the critical reception to get like a barometer of actually who's done well, and they just haven't been able to do that. And we've seen with Halo Infinite, that's becoming a struggle now, and you're thinking, is this going to carry on? Is this going to carry on to next gen, or are we going to be are all these purchases that Microsoft have made with Bethesda and all sorts, are they going to pay dividends? I mean, it's not going to be instant, but you'd think in 2-3 years they should be churning out some good games on that platform. Yeah,
I mean, in preparation for this, I just did a quick Google search of Xbox One exclusives, because I was like, God, surely I haven't only got like these 4 games that I've written down as Xbox One exclusives. And looking into it, like, there was a website that was like all 29 Xbox exclusives for the Xbox One, and it's like 29. Surely there was more than that, but in reality, there just wasn't. And of those 29, like 4 of them are Gears of War, and 4 of them are Forza. It's just like,
of course,
Jesus Christ, like, that's bad. That's when you look at the PlayStation games in comparison, as you say, and I do get the argument of, I don't like third person, like narrative or whatever you want to call them, style games, but I mean, take them out and there's still just, it's an absolute canyon in terms of difference between the quality of the games that came out. Like, even cross-console game, like, why on Xbox not churning out those absolute top quality? Like, in comparison to the 360, it was pathetic.
Yeah, that's the thing. I think that's what puzzles me the most, is considering how good the 360 was for exclusives.
Unbelievable.
And yeah, like for it to then just suddenly just evaporate like this, it's just really odd.
Collapsed. Yeah, it's very odd. And I've got high hopes for the Series X. I think Xbox purchasing, well, I mean, obviously Bethesda's the big sort of the big acquisition that they've had. Yeah, ahead of the next generation.
Phil says he ain't done either. He wants more, and I'm like, Christ.
I mean, the thing is, Bethesda cost whatever it was, like $6.5 billion or something dollars, which is, I mean, a frighteningly large amount of money. But Xbox needs to start churning out grade A, like AAA titles that are console exclusives to keep in the running, because the Xbox One has damaged their brand sufficiently that a lot of people that I speak to are just like, nah, I'm not going to bother. I'm just going to get the PS5. Yeah. And I get that the consoles are that much more expensive and it's not quite as accessible for people to buy both as it maybe was once upon a time, but just for inflation and blah, 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 blah. Yeah. The fact of the matter is, those that seem to be sort of on the fence as to which one of the two that they are going to buy, people are plumbing for the PS5.
Yeah. You earn the trust and loyalty for a set period of time, and if you mislay that trust or burn it, eventually it expires and people go to an alternative, and that's clear that's happened on this current generation, and it's clear it will have a hangover for Microsoft into this generation. I do hope that they can get out. I mean, I think the opening years or so is it's down to an arms race, isn't it? Who can manufacture the most consoles to keep up with demand, because they'll sell out as soon as they come on. Both sets.
And it'll be an argument over getting hold of one.
Yes, but as it goes on, I'm hoping during that time they can kind of repair some of the damage done and be in a place when it becomes a bit more even playing field, where you can get the consoles reasonably easy. They've got content there or got something there to pull people in.
It kind of feels almost cyclical with it, because like from my perspective, I mean, the PS2 absolutely wiped the floor with the Xbox.
I never had an Xbox. I think I went around Steve Christian's and played for about an hour on Halo, and I was like, "What's this?" I mean,
it was a good console, but the PS2 was just unbelievable. It didn't help that the original Xbox was the chunk that it was. And the fucking original controller, by the way. What were Xbox thinking there? It's as bad as the Sega Saturn original controller. Anyway, so it was kind of PlayStation 2 smashed the original Xbox, and then I really felt like Xbox 360 completely destroyed the PS3. Like, the PS3 didn't seem to have that much. I know it did okay, but it didn't feel like it had a huge commercial success. And then the PS4 has been, in my eyes, a lot more successful than the Xbox One. And now here we are back at the Xbox Series X against PS5, and from initial, certainly not the initial games at release, because I think PS5 has probably got a slight edge. Yeah. But in terms of the studios that Xbox have got working for them, definitely feels like it could swing back the other way quite quickly.
Yeah, if they pull their fingers out, certainly. And I always felt the momentum was kind of with Xbox, with the 360. Because PS3, we talk about bungled releases. I mean, what was it, $599 they fucking put the PS3 out for, and it's like
absolutely mental.
I think in the end they got to similar sorts of sales, and PS3 might have overtaken them, but for a long time that wasn't the case. And we certainly everyone had a 360. Everyone had a 360. No one. A couple of people had a PS3, but everyone I knew had a 360. It was all playing online multiplayer. As that kind of exploded onto consoles as well. And again, Microsoft had an advantage there, and they had Xbox Live. Sure, it was a paid service, but it fucking worked, which it didn't always work on the Sony side.
Yeah, and again, they've kind of got ahead of the curve with the Xbox Game Pass, which no matter which way you look at it, the Xbox Game Pass is a fucking phenomenal service. Yes. The fact that they did their release or their E3 equivalent, because obviously we're in COVID times, so it hasn't been quite the full normal. But they said everything you see is going to be available on Game Pass on the day that it releases. That's fucking crazy.
Yes.
That's not like a little thing to be browsed over. That's fucking mental. For a subscription service that they have available, they've literally said you can, every title that we've shown, all AAA, anything we've got, will be available for you if you pay your monthly subscription, which is $7.99 or £10 if you want Ultimate, and you can have it on PC as well.
Yeah,
that's and that includes Xbox Live. That's crazy.
Yeah, it's mental. Like what I was working towards is that since the launch and whatever, all the TV Connect stuff, they'd slowly, I felt like, started getting into gear with things like Game Pass. I mean, they ditched the Connect at some point. They said that's no longer required. And then on the new models, it wasn't required. It wasn't there. You can't even buy it now. It's like just completely just been eroded away. 2014 is when Sir Phil comes in, and we know that he's the king of gaming. So that's a pivotal point. But 2015, we get backwards compatibility. I mean, that in itself is insane, that the console launches in 2013 without backwards compatibility, and they're able to patch it in via firmware, hardware updates, and now you've got access to your old games. If you've still got the disc, you can pop them in, or if you've had them on the store, you can go and play them. And it goes all the way back now. I've developed it over all these years where you can go back to the original Xbox. So that entire Xbox library of games is pretty much all available via backwards compatibility, and it's something they're carrying on forward. That to me was, when I first saw that, I was like, wow, that's actually really impressive to pull something like that out of the hat mid-generation, and to also, they've kind of forced Sony to look at it and at least do PS4 to PS5. I don't think without Xbox doing this in 2015 that we'd even be talking about backwards compatibility as much as people are. Now people are getting these consoles potentially and looking to play old games because it's going to give them a nice performance boost as well.
Yeah, I mean, I remember when Xbox announced it, it was E3, and it was during their press conference, and I remember live tweeting that Xbox had smashed it out, what I thought they were smashing it out the park, and it was predominantly based around backwards compatibility. And I remember a few of the other guys within Dimp were like, are you smoking crack or something? Because they was not seeing it. But I'm with you. I think backwards compatibility, whilst, don't get me wrong, like as a collector of old consoles as well, I've always got my old consoles that I could go back and play stuff on. But
the hassle.
There's a huge market for older games that people haven't finished with. Like, there's a lot of Xbox One games that I've got that when the Series X comes out, it's like, do I finish them off? Do I finish the campaign, or do I just bin it and start with a new gen? And you don't then want to have your Series X hooked up, or as well as your Xbox One. It's like having both of them set up for a lot of people is a hassle. It's out with the old, in with the new. Yeah. Backwards compatibility is a big thing. Don't let people think otherwise. And as you say, without Xbox applying the pressure to Sony, I'm not entirely sure they'd have it. I mean, Nintendo have sort of slowly been adding in bits and pieces on the Switch, but most of it's behind a paywall.
Yeah, you have to buy it again
because it's Nintendo. I mean, they're going to go, you bought their game on NES fucking 15 years ago. Yeah, guess what? It costs £80 now.
Yeah, and it's only on sale for 20 hours, so if you miss it, you ain't having it.
Yeah, exactly. That's it. Game over. But, there is definitely a market for it in people that want to play games from a previous gen, especially during that initial sort of, I think having it at launch for the Series X will help out. Obviously the PS5 is going to have it as well. But yeah, there's a lot to be said, and commend Xbox for bringing it in. Yeah, it's definitely, I feel like it's needed now more so than it was before.
Yeah, there's tons of games that I went and bought on the Xbox store that were like last gen, like the Mass Effect trilogy. I remember I went on there and bought that because at that point there seemed like there was no chance of a remaster. Now it's either been announced because it's, the way podcasting works is that this is recorded before it goes live, or it's very close to. But there was Mass Effect I went and bought the old Metal Gear Solid collection that was on there, the HD collection. So I was just picking up all these old games that I had no other way to play because I had either lost, broken, or just sold my old consoles. And it's great. It's great having access to that market.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what, I haven't even played any of them. But I still paid some money for them because I wanted them.
But you know they're there.
Exactly. I know they're not gone for good, which there's still games that I want to play that are gone for good, seemingly. And this is a sad, sorry affair. But backwards compatibility, yeah, that is gone for good. Unbelievable. 2017, we start getting these mid-generation, I guess, upgrades. Xbox One X, Project Scorpio. What do you make of all this as part of a generational cycle? Because typically we hadn't been subjected to this level of, time to upgrade again during a generation. It was kind of new, and especially with Sony and Microsoft both doing it, it felt it was almost alien to me. I was a bit like, I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing here.
Yeah, so, I mean, whilst the argument, I suppose, is that we maybe had it with the 360 because we had the Elite console that came out, but I don't see it as being quite the same thing because the Elite really was to fix the problems that the hardware of the Xbox 360 original had. It was the Elite was aimed to eradicate the problems with the Red Ring of Death. It wasn't it wasn't an upgrade hardware wise. I mean, I bought an Xbox One X at release. I've used it ever since. Yep. So I've got the original Xbox One, I've got the One S, and I've got an One X as well. Yep. So it's hard because I suppose I've been gaming on it. I mean, it was 2017, like you say. I've been gaming on this one now for 3 years, and it's not until it's funny because I went round to Pete's house a little while ago and was watching him play something on the Xbox One.
Yeah.
And I'm literally like, fucking hell, what the fuck is that garbage? Like, why does it look so shit? Yeah. And it's bizarre to me watching people play stuff nowadays in, like, even now with, like, current games that are coming out, like Call of Duty Modern Warfare or Call of Duty Warzone, whatever you want to call it, the latest iteration, I've started playing on my PC, and when it downgrades to 1080, like, when the system restarts and it sits me at fucking 1080p or whatever, I'm like, how's anyone ever gamed like this? Like, seriously, how's anyone ever played with this resolution? Because it just looks like fucking garbage. I can't see shit. And
muddy.
Yeah, and so in that essence, like, I mean, I was fortunate enough to be in a position where I was able to have a 4K television when the Xbox One X came out. Yeah. So I had a 4K television with HDR10. Yeah. And was able to get the absolute max out of the console when I bought it. Yeah. But for me, I mean, I liked that it did away with all the bullshit. Like, I'd gotten over the multimedia desperation at that stage. Yeah. It still has the fucking HDMI in, as if anyone's ever. Yeah, it does. Yeah. If you've ever looked at the back of it, it still has the HDMI in that no one's ever going to use. The only thing is now that's become an aggravation when I've moved in my console and I plug the fucking HDMI cable into the wrong pissing socket. But yeah, its functionality is still there. It's just not used. Obviously, they binned off the Kinect, as you said earlier on. But the console itself was just such an improvement. It's so much smaller from the giant Xbox One, the original. It's so much quieter, and it ran games so much better. And there's no two ways about it. Like, the games that had the 4K graphics upgrade, like some of the Gears of War games and stuff that had the patches, whilst they were huge and it took a long time to download them, there was a definite, it felt like quite a substantial difference between the Xbox One X and the original Xbox One.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think I watch a lot of Digital Foundry comparisons, even for games I'm never going to play. I'm just interested to see how the tech works on all the platforms. And as the generation has gone on, especially in 2020, I've noticed a lot of games running on either Xbox One or even the original PS4 look like they're struggling in terms of not just the resolutions. Sometimes on the Xbox One is sub 1080p, like we're talking 900p in some cases.
Look at like PUBG.
Yeah. And
people were putting like 8 frames a second and stuff on the original consoles. And don't get me wrong, it wasn't a lot better because it wasn't particularly well optimized, but you know, it was at least pulling 30 frames a second on like the Xbox One X and the PS4 Pro.
Yeah. it's definitely got to a stage where some games and it's snobbish to say this, but I just wouldn't want to play it on one of those old systems. And
I don't want to play anything on one of those old systems.
No, poor old Pete. It's going to be heartbroken.
I play on the Xbox One S at work, and if I'm playing on anything larger than like a 24-inch monitor or so, you start to really notice that the graphics are fucking janky, man, and there's already performance issues if you're playing a newish game anyway, but it's just and that's on the S, which I mean is still an upgrade on the original. It's tough. It is. I think maybe it's one of those things that if you've never had it, you wouldn't miss it.
No,
now that I've had it, I couldn't go back to playing on my original Xbox.
No, poor little bugger. I mean, you mentioned Game Pass. How long have you had Game Pass for? Is that something you got when it came out, or did you sort of look at it and go, "What the fuck's that shit?" and then slowly think, "Oh, hang on a minute."
So I haven't had Game Pass for very long, purely because, as you well know, I am very much a buy physical copies of games,
of course,
kind of guy.
Yep.
I still keep all of my old consoles, all my old games, everything.
Well, you've got 7 Xbox 360s, half of them are broken.
Yeah, that's true. But I can't help myself. I like to stack it. I like to have it all here. So Game Pass to me wasn't particularly appealing to begin with. No. That said, a few months ago, probably 3 or 4 months ago now, I purchased a PC. So I now have a gaming PC, which, to be honest, I've used pretty much exclusively since I bought it.
There is a future planned episode with you talking about this PC. You don't know about it yet, but
it's a disaster.
You're going to be roped in for that.
So since I've had that, Game Pass all of a sudden has become a lot more appetizing because you can't buy physical copies of PC games.
No, you can try, but in most cases you can't.
They just don't exist. Like there's no
what
buying.
A strange world they live in over there.
Yeah, exactly. Looking down at the console peasants with their fucking CDs and whatnot. Don't even have a CD drive on my PC.
No, I've got one. It's a hindrance, to be honest.
Yeah, so I guess it's that has been the reason that I've invested in Game Pass. I have Game Pass Ultimate now, so it takes care of everything for me. Will I use it for Xbox games? I guess potentially. It's hard because I love buying games. I love buying physical copies of games. Yeah. And the worry that I've always had, it's the same reason that I don't play demos of games, is because if there is a game that I like the look of in build-up, I just want to buy it.
Yeah.
I don't want to play it for a little bit and go, well, this is a bit shit, and then not buy it. And that's kind of my worry with Game Pass, that it's going to give me the opportunity to play too much stuff, and then I'll poo-poo it before I have a chance to buy it because I don't like it, or I've not got into it after a short period.
I'm just thinking you could have leveraged Game Pass to get those achievements, like really abuse the system. There must have been some right old tat on there.
Oh, there was loads. There was absolutely loads. Like, I was literally, as I said, I was having to go out and buy fucking physical. I wasn't having to, but I chose to.
Yeah.
Go out and buy physical copies of games. And, like, you look at my game shelf now, my God, there's some fucking shit on there. Like, there's some real fucking took games on that thing. I've got, like, 8 copies of fucking Call of Duty 3.
Yeah.
I've got 4 copies of Gears of War 2 from where we were pissing playing all those LAN parties.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Yeah, and it's just like, I mean, what am I doing with my life, really?
If you got room for it, which you probably haven't now because there's too much of that stuff, but it's a worthwhile endeavour keeping. I got rid of all mine, and I sometimes wake up in the middle of the night thinking, oh,
it hurts me to know.
Kept that. Yeah.
So, the thing is, and I throw this out now on this podcast, so the 7 or 8 people that probably are going to listen to it, if you have old consoles,
got India now, remember?
Yeah, Dimp Digital. If you have old consoles and stuff, don't fucking throw it away. Don't give it to some shit heap CEX or whatever. Yeah. Speak to me. I will take it off your hands.
That's true.
Chappers gave me all his old stuff, and I couldn't have been happier. I was like a kid at Christmas when he gave me his SNES and stuff. Literally rushed home, set it all up, played for about 3 hours, and then bagged it all up, cleaned it all off,
You're off.
Yeah, it pains me when I see people who are just chucking stuff away or like dumping it in charity shop. Like, not that you shouldn't dump it in a charity shop. It's a good cause to do it, but
fuck them.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and Game Pass is obviously, that is just, you don't own the game at any point. Like, they could just take it off the service at some point.
Game over.
Yeah, and the one thing that worries me, if something gets announced on the platform, say next Wednesday, and I don't start it next Wednesday, if I wait for a month or two, I'm worried that I will not be able to finish the game before it comes off, and then I'll be forced to either buy it or leave it unfinished, which is like
lose.
Ronnie's not happy with either of those situations. So I've had it since 2017, and I wouldn't say clever enough, but I was shrewd enough to at least upgrade it for the £1 offer for multiple years. I basically didn't cheat the system, they were advertising it, but you could upgrade it quite cheaply for 3 years and maxed it out. And I've just topped it up with deals as and when I've seen them, but I've not used it as much as I should have done. Simply because sometimes I feel like I'm under pressure to finish the fucker before it just randomly, I'll get a notification on my phone saying, oh, next week's Shadow of War's going off. Buy it now for 10% off. I'm like, no,
yeah,
got 50 hours to do on that.
Yeah.
But overall, what a service that is. And again, there's nothing else quite like it. We saw bits of like EA Access coming out, and Ubisoft have done one, but nothing's had the staying power and the value of what Game Pass offers. And for anyone who is a casual gamer, that's just, it's too good to turn down. Like, if you don't really care too much, like if you're not really sort of into specific types of games, you just want to play a few things that look fun, like Game Pass is easy money for you.
It's just such a no-brainer. Like, I mean, they've done so much for it, and now they're bringing in EA Play as well. So you just got so much on that system. Like, I don't know how people, like you say, for £1 a month for the first month, and then whatever it is, $7.99 afterwards. It's such good value for money, especially like for both ends of the spectrums. So casual gamers can pick up a game a month, play it for a bit, bin it. And those who play as much as people like we do, you could play a different game every day for a whole month. Yeah. And you can complete as much as you want. It's insane. I'm on the Xbox. I'm on the Microsoft Store now.
Yeah.
And you click on gaming, and sure enough, top thing, you look across and it's like free with Game Pass, free with Game Pass, free with Game Pass, free with Game Pass. Madness. Absolute madness.
The one thing that's kind of fed from Game Pass into another service, which goes not hand in hand but goes well together, and in actually having spoken to you about the physical side of things, enjoying those releases, sounds like it could be your worst nightmare. It's this they've changed the name now, but Project xCloud, the streaming service that allows you to access Game Pass and stream it to a Android device or other devices out there. I mean, this is still in its infancy. It's only released earlier this year, but how does that float your boat in terms of streaming tech? Now Microsoft have got their hands in every fucking pie potentially.
So there's as much as it pains me to admit it, like physical, I think physical consoles and physical games, especially physical games, but before too long, physical consoles will become almost completely redundant. We've had Stadia, haven't we? Like, Stadia came out, and it hasn't done quite as well as perhaps some people thought it would, and it's not quite as mainstream.
120 quid on that shit.
Yeah. I mean, well, you were there, weren't you? Like, almost day one.
Yeah, I got it day one. The control was really nice, and to be honest, the Chromecast has been a bit of a lifesaver. It's in the lounge now, but other than that, I mean, the thought of paying, this is the difference, the thought of paying 60 quid for a game to stream via the internet onto a device, I can't get on with that, and that's what Stadia kind of is.
It's hurtful.
Yeah. Whereas xCloud or a stream of Microsoft or some bollocks, that's got Game Pass bundled in, and you've got a plethora of titles to go at.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, if the capability is there currently, and I know that xCloud was available to a select few, you had to sign up for the beta and whatever else, and I played it quite a bit on my phone. I played quite a lot of a few games on there, and I can definitely see the appeal of it. Frighteningly, I can see that's the way that games are likely to, or like gaming is likely to go in the next 10 years or so.
Yeah.
Especially as, I mean, the main gripe that people have with it at the moment is you need a decent internet connection in order to be able to play.
Yeah.
Which I get entirely, but I mean, 5G phones now are reasonably common. You know, it's not.
They caused all this COVID, didn't they?
Yeah, something like that. Anyway, I've got a 5G phone now.
Yeah.
And when I'm in certain areas, like in and around London, I pull like 350 meg download and about 60 upload, and it's like, yeah, that'll play a game. Like, that won't be a problem. And I think once that starts to roll out on a bit more of a widespread across the country, I can see that being the way that games go. I mean, why wouldn't companies do that? They don't have to produce hardware.
No.
So, which is a huge expenditure to them. They don't make loads of money on the consoles. They make money on the games because, like you say, people are paying for a license to play something, which is free for Xbox once they've got the intellectual property rights. Like, it's, I can see it going that way before too long. And it's a shame because, as I say, as a collector of physical bits and pieces, I know it's coming to an end. It's just a question of whether gaming is no longer part of my life at the stage when it does.
Oh.
Just purely because I've become that much older and I've got other things to worry about. And
no, you've got old and shit. You've realised that I've seen.
I am old and I am shit. That is fair. I literally have to have every advantage that I can now. I've spent my solution to being shit is throw money at the problem.
Yeah, it works,
and it's buy anything I can to give myself the up. So I have the best monitors available. I've got my little fucking
highest refresh rates.
Yeah, my gaming glasses, which give me a fucking tiny edge. I've got my decent headphones that fucking 3D headphones or whatever they fucking are. It's like, I'm going to have every edge. Like, I'm going to do everything I can. All my peripherals are going to be the best things money can buy in a vague attempt to try and relive my 20s.
That's it. That's the way to do it. I think there are some people that can't be helped, like Paper. Like, you can spend £1 million and he's still going to be
can't buy dexterity, though, can you? You can't buy hand-eye coordination.
You can't buy brains, that's for sure.
It's the long and the short of it.
Yeah. And then finally, it's on xCloud. I mean, the great thing about that is that you've dabbled in it, I've dabbled in it, and because we're Game Pass members or Ultimate members, it doesn't cost us anything. It's just there. Yeah. It's just another crazy deal that Microsoft have rolled out to people that want to use it. Like,
actually, sling a controller and a controller clip into my backpack when I'm going out.
Yep.
And, you sat on the train, I'm going to play fucking Doom Eternal for 20 minutes on my phone.
Done. Yeah.
Mental.
Crazy. Well, I think that the hardware-wise and service-wise and the Xbox One throughout its life cycle, I stand by the fact that it started on a low and slowly climbed its way up and out of it. They didn't solve every problem, but they introduced new services that weren't there previously, really put their flag in the ground for backwards compatibility and forced Sony to pull their finger out their arse. And overall, I think when people look back on the Xbox One, it will be a tale of two halves, really, because it started off pretty poor, but over the course of the year, I think they've started to win some trust back. Probably not enough to where they need to be if they want to get on top in terms of console sales, but there is the theory out there they don't care really how many consoles they sell, because they know full well they can get you on Game Pass through so many devices now that if you're paying 10, 11 quid a month for that, then they're happy. So it's been an interesting generation for them for sure, and we always like to top things off with the games. And as you mentioned earlier,
is it topping things off?
No,
though?
Yeah, we should have ended with Game Pass, but or backwards compatibility. But this was a struggle. Like you, I made a list of games and I thought, you know what, I'm just going to check, put in Xbox exclusives. Some fucking mad cunt had Crackdown 3 on their list.
Yeah, a lot of people did. And it's like
we must be
scraping the barrel, are we?
Yeah, absolutely. So, look, these are the games that we've kind of picked out as the better ones of what was on offer. There was some toot. There always is some toot on both sides of the consoles, but there's still some decent enough games on there and stuff that I think's worthwhile playing. I'm going to kick things off with a game I don't know if you've actually clocked now. I know you got very close to the end, but Cuphead. It's now on PlayStation, it's now on Switch, and it's now on PC. You know, initially it wasn't on all of those platforms, and it was everyone who saw Cuphead immediately wanted to play it, but I feel like a lot of people would have been turned away at the difficulty and been like, this is fucking good, but too hard.
God, that game was a fucking... it hurt me. It did hurt me. I fucking love Cuphead. Great game. Really, really well done. I left it for probably about 6 to 9 months because I got fucking aggy with it. And I went back when I got my... You
went back when you found that Adcock had done it, I reckon.
I think I went back.
I'm not having that.
I can't remember why I went back. I think it might have been because I got an elite controller. I could read map buttons.
Yes.
Which made life so much easier because I put one of my triggers to be shoot rather than fucking one of the face buttons. And I literally just held down a trigger the whole time that I was playing, basically. But unbelievably good game. Really, really good. Yeah, as you say, it's now out on everything. So whether you can class it as an Xbox exclusive, it certainly was for a short period, if nothing else. And I'm still waiting for the delicious last course.
Yeah, what happened to that? I forgot about that.
They've just not said anything about it. I've been keeping an eye on it because obviously it's one of the games that's been in the fantasy gaming draft.
Yeah.
Not one of mine, might I add. Although I did want it, I tried to sub it in mid-year, and thank God I didn't because they've literally just gone off the grid. I don't know whether it's COVID related or what, but
yeah, it's been a bit of a strange year in that sense. We've seen things getting knocked back for sure. Next, it's a couple of games, and these are ones that I'd only actually played one of these, but I feel like Forza Horizon kind of had its breakout party on the Xbox One with Forza 3, set in Australia. Forza Horizon 3, I should say, and then we had Forza Horizon 4, which came out. Not my type of games, but I appreciate that this is one of the highest rated 2 games that are on the platform, so it felt silly not to mention it. And I'm more of a motorsport kind of racing person if I want to play it in a game, so I like the motorsport aspect of racing games, not necessarily the driving around and messing around. So this doesn't really appeal to me, but I know that people out there fucking love these series, and it's pulled in people that don't even like driving games that sit down and play Forza Horizon because it's like an open world playground for them to fuck about in.
Yeah, it was one of those ones that I played it for a bit and it kind of came and went, and as you say, it was definitely more of a user-friendly one for those who didn't play quite so much. It felt like it capitalised on the Fast and Furious films a little bit. You know, you did
they had a DLC pack, do you remember? Which was easy 1000G. I remember.
I got 1000G on that. Yeah, on Forza Horizon, I think it was, or one of them. Yeah. But yeah, fun games. Not my cup of tea or yours, evidently, but good games nonetheless.
Yeah, absolutely. And be interesting to see what Playground Games do because they're being handed the Fable franchise. So
yeah.
That's a different type of game. That is, and
we've got a big reputation to follow up to based on the success of this generation's versions of it.
Yeah, absolutely. I've put both Ori games on here, Blind Forest and Will o' the Wisp. I've not played either. I've been waiting for. They mentioned months ago that Blind Forest is going to have an update on Series X that lets it run at 120, and I thought, I know
4K 120. Yeah,
I know it's a platformer, but I've just got to try that out. So I'll just have held off, and Will o' the Wisp, I just kind of thought I'm not playing that till I've done Blind Forest, so I backed myself up. But what was your experience with these Ori games?
So I played Blind Forest on xCloud.
Ah.
Yeah, so I played it on phone. And I really enjoyed it. I mean, they're very good games. They were critically well received. They're good fun games. I haven't played much of Will o' the Wisps, but it's obviously similar. But I'm in the same boat as you. I'm looking forward to it coming out on Series X and being able to replay it. I'm going to replay Blind Forest and then go on to Will o' the Wisps in 4K 120.
Yeah. That's the beautiful thing of backwards compatibility in Game Pass coming home to roost again.
Yeah.
One of our favoured franchises, in my opinion, it struggled slightly, but it's Gears of War. We got Gears 4. We got Gears of War 4. We got Gears 5 and Gears of War Ultimate this generation. I went back and played through Ultimate because it's fucking awesome, and it fucking is. I hope they do a 120 upgrade for that in 4K. I'll absolutely go back and replay that again for the umpteenth time. But what did you make of this generation for Gears? Because we had the original trilogy, which was excellent. Then we had Judgment, and everyone went, ooh. And then we got 4, 5 and Ultimate to deal with.
So I did Ultimate start to finish, same as you.
Of course.
Fucking loved it. Absolutely excellent.
Oh, we got that trophy together, that achievement together of not being
for
down
killing
for
General Ram.
Yeah.
By cheesing it with talk bows and
wow.
headshots.
Is it a cheese?
Yeah, a little bit. 4 I kind of enjoyed. Was okay, not on a par with maybe the best of them, but certainly not the worst.
Yeah.
And 5 I still haven't finished.
Well, there you go. And Gears is one, as you always say, you fucking love Gears.
Love Gears, absolutely love Gears. For me, so Ultimate Edition and 4 were both let down, as every single Gears game has been, by the fucking world's worst matchmaking. Because I love playing Gears Online. I fucking love Gears Online.
Yeah.
I'm good enough at it that I can play it and compete, and the matchmaking on them is fucking dismal. And I didn't really like. The thing is, I'd done Gears 1 to 4, including Judgment, co-op.
Right. Yeah.
As I think a lot of us had.
Yeah.
Did it co-op with loading, and Gears 5 we started, and then it just became difficult to get sessions when we were both available. And then
it's not him being shit?
I mean, the thing was as well, I wanted to play it on the hardest difficulty, and we'd get to stages where he'd be like, "This is fucking me off. We need to fucking drop down." And I was like, "Nah, we'll be all right. We'll get there." And I'm the type of guy that can fucking sit and play the same repetitive dog shit over and over again until we fucking hit lucky. Yeah, until we can hit lucky once. Yes. And he wasn't really up for it, so I think we both just kind of got frustrated and stopped. But I think he'd play it. Well, I'm guessing he found someone else to play it with.
He ain't finished it, I don't think.
No, so I'll finish it at some point. I started playing it again with Parky, but it was Parky's first Gears.
Yeah,
so
he struggled. But the other thing is, we did play I think maybe a couple of games of Horde. Is it Horde?
Yeah.
We did for some reason, all Horde modes I think are not called Horde because they've always got their own version of it. But I keep forgetting that Gears was the one that kind of
properly Horde.
Yeah, it was the first one, as far as I remember playing anyway, with Gears of War 2. But we had a session of that. Yeah, it was good. It feels like it's obviously come a long way from Gears 2 when I played it the most. But I think you kind of need to make it a little bit more complex to get it a bit more involved.
I mean, I played Gears 3 more than anything, probably online, and Horde, and it was I don't know, I didn't fully buy into the whole fabricator piece. Kind of just started to get a bit irritating, but it was good. It's a fun game, and you just kind of what number, when you get to a certain number, what number does a franchise die at? Like Gears 1, 2, 3, great, okay, really, really good. Judgment, okay, not quite so good, but we didn't call it 4. We kind of went with something. It was off for a bit of a tangent. Okay, we'll kind of let you get away with that. Gears 4, wasn't too bad. Definitely not your best game, but not your worst. And now it's like Gears 5. I mean, it'll come Series X, are we going to see Gears 6, Gears 7?
Yeah.
And it starts to worry me when we start to get close to double digits.
Yeah, that's true. One thing I will say about Gears of War 4 and Gears 5 is they were technical marvels on that Xbox One.
Oh, they ran beautifully.
Yeah, they were like you could, and that's why I love exclusives for consoles. And I know they come to PC as well, these ones, but typically, like anything that's written for the console first, like written to the metal, you just get stuff that just looks far and above what a third party will do when they're trying to optimize it for fucking 18 different platforms and Stadia and all this shit.
Yeah,
and Switch now. They want to. Everything wants to go on that. So 4 and 5 were fucking gorgeous to play through. And I played 4 on PC and then played it on the One X as well. And it didn't really skip a beat on the One X. It ran just as good. So 5, I think I went back to Xbox for it. Halo Wars 2. Right, how are we playing these RTSs with controllers? Have they managed to crack it?
No. I mean, it was okay, but... It was fun. I played Halo Wars 1 to completion and loved it, and I enjoyed Halo Wars 2 a lot. It was good fun. But now, again, having PC, I might play Halo Wars 2 on PC, just so I can properly get a feel for how it actually should be played. Because RTSs are just shit on controller. There's no two ways about it. Yeah.
Sea of Thieves. I know you're a big fan of Rare, and we've got one of their collections coming up, but you didn't get a chance to play this. I did. I'm surprised you didn't play it just because it was Rare, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, I remember I think I had it in the draft when it was due for release, and not that I didn't have the chance to play it. I just never picked it up. I don't know. There felt like there was quite a bit of negative press surrounding it, and it was
just weren't a lot to do.
I think it's a better game now than it was when it released.
100%.
Yeah, but again,
not quite on the levels of No Man's Sky in terms of turnaround, but still much better than its launch.
Yeah, just better than it was at launch, and seemingly brought a lot of new features in. So it looks like a fun game, and I think they tried to do something different, which I've got time for.
Yeah, it's one of those tricky ones. I played it and enjoyed it, but it had to have 2 others minimum. It just had to. And
you weren't playing it on your own.
No, when you get into that territory with me, it's tricky to commit
time wise and everything. Yeah,
because there's no real goal either.
No, it was just sort of sandboxy style, kind of.
And as much as I criticise like the loot grind from like Destiny but you have something to work towards.
At least you had a purpose. Yeah.
Even if it was to sometimes.
Yeah.
But the better days of Rare were released with Rare Replay. I mean, I can't remember how many games come out on this, but
40.
40. I mean, you didn't play all 40, did you?
I probably played 30, I would say.
Did they meet your expectations and your memory?
No, it was fucking dog shit, mate. There was maybe 5 games worth playing, 10 games that you might get a nostalgia kick out of, and 30 that were fucking pointless. Like, I know when I say pointless, I mean fucking pointless.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not buying an Xbox One to be playing like 2D fucking dog shit, like Space Invader equivalents. Then there was a lot of them. Like they said at release, 40 games on here, and everyone was like, wow, that's fucking incredible. Like, I don't remember 40 good games that Rare have released, but I mean, there must be on there. Like, that's brilliant. No, that's because Rare didn't release 40 good games. So like Banjo-Kazooie, Banjo-Tooie, Conker's Bad Fur Day, unbelievable. Loved it. Played them start to finish, 100%ed all of them. Really enjoyed myself doing it. And then just some of the fucking toot that they piled in there as well was just, it was an insult, really, because you couldn't call it 40 games. You just couldn't. No, I'm not even joking. It was an insult. You couldn't call a lot of them fucking a game.
You got addicted to Viva Pinata, didn't you?
Yeah, it was a great game. But this, they had like stuff from like the early 80s. And you just wake up. Like, that doesn't count.
Been that.
Yeah, it's just dog shit.
Another one of the Microsoft staples, they talk about Forza, Gears, and that's that beer. I've had 2 of them, and Halo, and we got Halo 5, and we got Halo the Master Chief Collection. Now, I don't know. Halo the Master Chief Collection, I think, is great. A great remastered version of those old games that look like shit now. I'm not going to say it any other way. But they put the effort in to fucking rebuild it. Well, not rebuild it all, but spruce it up and make it look like a modern game. And it still played and felt and looked now like a modern game. And they had that excellent feature where you could switch between old graphics and new instantly. Like, really clever. And you really see the amount of work they put into it. So we've got a lot of time for Master Chief Collection. I know the online was broken and maybe still is to this day. I never went back and tried it. But that is a campaign to run through 1 to 3. And I think 4's on there as well, actually.
And ODST now, they released it recently.
And ODST, yeah. Is like... That's the Halo collection there, isn't it? Of like all the good games plus a few not so good ones. And if you like Master Chief, you know, you're laughing with that one. But did you go back and play any of the old campaigns on that, or fiddle with the multiplayer, or did you skip it and just sort of focus on Halo 5?
So I did a bit of both. I played them and I played them online very briefly. As you say, the matchmaking was fucking dog shit online, so that was pointless. I played a lot of Halo 1 and then didn't really get much through the rest of them. I'll probably it's one of those ones that's difficult because there's other stuff out. Like, they're one of those ones that I'm quite happy to sit on the back burner and maybe one day I might play them, but I didn't really touch too much of it. I played obviously Halo 5 through to completion. I think we did it. Did we do a co-op?
Yeah, me, you, and
4 of us.
Logan and P. We might have done it on Legendary.
Yeah, and
that's when they reused the same boss about 4 times.
Yeah, it's a bit shit, wasn't it? It was okay, but you know, Halo's got kind of. It's a hard one because it's got quite high expectations for it. Halo 1, 2, and 3 I thought were all excellent, and ODST and 4 were okay.
Reach? Did you like Reach?
I didn't mind Reach. Again, it falls into the same category as ODST and 4. Yeah. 1, 2, and 3 still kind of set the bar, and I think the Master Chief Collection was a better overall game than 5 for me.
Yeah, I think everyone agreed. 5, we didn't even play much multiplayer, did we, actually, thinking about it? Like,
next to none, if any.
Yeah, crazy how like that and like Gears, which were both so strong last gen, this gen have kind of stumbled a bit,
tailed off a bit.
Yeah. Quantum Break, that's one I played. I wanted to put it on there. Not the best third person action game you're ever going to play, but it's not the worst either, and it has some interesting kind of mechanics and power ups and things that you can fuck about with like time manipulation stuff, and it had that strange narrative decision where you would play a level and then you'd watch 20 minutes of a live action TV show, which I don't know.
Odd.
Well, there's a reason why that'll never get done again, because it's shit, really. But,
you just wanted to skip it,
yeah. I think you could skip it, but again, if you wanted to, all it had was the story, so you kind of couldn't.
It wasn't that long a game, was it? And like the game was pretty much double in length with the cutscenes.
Yeah, strange. I mean, I kind of admire them for doing it, Remedy, but then sometimes I think, why? But
yeah.
There you go. That's the exclusive that Remedy churned out for Microsoft, and then went.
You're welcome.
We're going to go and do Control now. Thank you. Now, 2 big ones.
Best 2 for last.
Yeah. I don't mean, I can never decide between these 2, but I'm going to go with Sunset Overdrive first because, I mean, Insomniac, now they're with Sony because of the Marvel. Well, not because of that. That certainly played a hand in it, but the Spider-Man game is probably the reason why they got purchased. But before that, they did Sunset Overdrive for the Xbox, and you know, I look back at all the games that we've mentioned, all the lists. This still stands out towards the top, if not the top. I don't know what it is about this game. It kind of blended this kind of over-the-top action with combination type style, and it had the grinding, which made it feel like Tony Hawk's or that other bloody game that I always forget.
Escape.
Yeah. Now there's another one like Jet Set Radio. That's it.
Jesus.
It kind of like fused all that. Anyway, it was a great exclusive, a brand new IP, and I feel like it's heavily overlooked when people look back at some of the big games.
It really is. I think it was. Like, I'm with you. This and the other game that we're going to come on to were the top 2 games of the generation for me, for Xbox, that is.
Yeah.
I loved it. I had a great time playing it. I'm only missing one achievement.
Is it hard?
I needed to do it with someone else, and no one else wanted to pissing play it with me. Wow. And I got all the other co-op ones solo because I could, but I needed someone to do the last one with me. But yeah, great game, really fun. Just that word epitomizes it. Fun game. Yeah. Just like pick up, piss around, fun game.
Yeah, nice and colourful, stupid story, nothing too serious.
No,
like a nice video game to sit down and play.
Did everything right, yeah.
And then the one game I left it till last, simply because it's the reason why. I mean, we would have probably got the Xbox Ones anyway, but this is what caused us to all pull the trigger. And in fact, it's the sequel is a better game, I believe, but it didn't get the airtime because it came out at a shit time. But Titanfall, now Respawn. What a game! I mean, it was an online only game. There was no campaign. It was just, the online type jobbies. But this in a genre that can feel very fatiguing because it feels quite similar in the yearly cycles with your CODs, with your Battlefields and whatever else, Rainbow Six Siege is like. They all have that same sort of feel, military style games. We then get Titanfall, which is kind of set in the future, and immediately it kind of looks and feels the same. I mean, it's Respawn, the old Infinity Ward guys, so the mechanics are solid, but they introduce wall running. You think, cool, that's quite a nice little addition to have. And then they introduce these big fucking Titans as well that you can call down and wreak havoc on the place. Yeah, I mean, this is more your jam than mine being a multiplayer game, but Titanfall's the reason why you got the Xbox One in the first place.
Yeah, I played loads of Titanfall. I absolutely fucking loved the original one. And, I mean, I suppose it speaks testament to it, really, that you played it a lot as someone that I would consider to be a single-player campaign type of guy rather than an online type of guy. You can't look past it. It was just so good. There was so much about this game that was good. And it was interesting because this came out just before Call of Duty Advanced Warfare, I want to say. And Advanced Warfare kind of, I say just before, it was the predecessor too. And Advanced Warfare, they introduced wall running and climbing and everything. And everyone just kind of went, don't fucking try and be Titanfall. Cut that out because you can't do it. And they fucking made a real pig's ear of it. And everyone got really aggravated at Call of Duty because it was just a really bad iteration of the game. Yeah. In comparison to Titanfall, which just somehow managed to get it spot on. The balance was great, the way it played was great, the control was great, it looked great. It was just, and considering there wasn't a single player campaign, it was a limited number of maps and it was online. It just felt like it had so much replayability still. It really was a real sort of console defining game for me. As I say, between that and Sunset Overdrive, it's hard to pick a winner, but they were absolutely head and shoulders above the rest of the competition. Yeah, and Titanfall done some interesting things. Obviously, controlling the Titans, when you introduce powerful modes like that, like you can easily get the balance wrong. I think you're right to bring that up. It never felt like you were off balance. It was always so fun just being a pilot and jumping onto someone else's Titan and shooting through the glass at someone's fucking head and kicking them out of their Titan or jumping in and pulling wires out the back of it. They did such a good job of making the game well balanced, whether you were in mech or not. Like, obviously you had a substantial advantage if you were in your Titan, but Titan on Titan battles as well, like kamikaze in your one in and being able to throw it into the middle of a load of others. It was just detonating, bail out of it. It was just all so good. It was such a good game. It makes me want to go back and play it or go and play Titanfall 2 again. And one of the small things I liked about Titanfall was that they even had like
fodder, AI fodder that you could kill, like enemies.
Yeah, like mobs, yeah.
Just to help boost your score or boost your... I can't remember how you would even power up now, but you'd obviously...
Yeah, it was like you killed to get towards your Titan, didn't you?
Yeah.
Just gained to go towards him.
Yeah, overall, it was a fantastic game. I know it was on PC, and then eventually it was backported to 360, but that was the game that kind of got us all into getting the Xbox One, so I felt like it was only right to kind of end with that. One question I will pose to you is, we love Titanfall so much. I played through the campaign of Titanfall 2, and it's fucking excellent. Like, if you've not played through that campaign, do it. It's a great game, but why did we never attach to number 2 to even give it a sniff or a chance at being a mainstay multiplayer game? It felt like we played the beta when it was out and was like, yeah, it's more Titanfall, and then just we never committed to it.
Kind of disappeared, didn't it? I don't know is the honest truth. I think part of it was probably timing.
It was sandwiched between Call of Duty and Battlefield, wasn't it?
Yeah, and I think the first one, because it was so close to launch of console, was like a real sort of pick up and go type thing right at the beginning of its life cycle. And the second one maybe struggled a little bit as it was a little bit further in. But I mean, I wouldn't, like, as I said, I wouldn't be averse to going back to it now and giving it a bash. It was such a good game.
Well, table it for Tuesday night sessions.
Job done.
See what happens. But that's it. That's the end of our list and our little retrospective of the Xbox One. Obviously, we couldn't cover every game, and most of them weren't worth covering, as we may have alluded to. Yeah. And we kind of had to get a bit creative sometimes with what games were considered, but it's not the end of the world. It is. They all came out on this generation, and just the games that we saw as kind of important games for the Xbox, either personally or critically out there. Hall, I'm going to leave you to have any final words about the Xbox One as a whole. How did you? I mean, you look back on it now. What does it mean to you? I mean, we loved the 360, and many people love their PlayStation 4s. But how will Mr. Hall and Mr. Xbox look back on his Xbox One and his Series X? His Xbox One X and his maybe even his Elite controller that came with it.
Yeah, I mean, there's no two ways about it. I've loved this generation of gaming. I've enjoyed my Xbox One and my Xbox One X. I'm looking forward to the next one. I think as I've come further into the life cycle of this generation, this console, I am going to be less open. I'm going to be more open to playing stuff. For a long time, I like things that weren't exclusive to consoles, like third-party games. I was always picking up on Xbox.
Yeah,
and I suppose that the kind of lesson learned is that I missed out on a lot of Destiny 2 that you guys played because you all predominantly played it on PlayStation, and that hurt me. And I think that I'll have to be a little bit more open to playing stuff on other things. Now I've got the PC, obviously it's a lot easier, but yeah, I think it's been an okay generation. I think the Xbox has struggled in comparison to the PS4, but I wouldn't change it. I still love my Xbox, and I'm pleased with it, even if she has got a bit of dust on the top of her now.
That's all right. She can collect more dust as the years go on, and that PC gets moved into prime position. But that's it. We'll be back next Monday, probably, providing everything goes well, with some impressions on the Series X and how that's functioning as a bit of hardware, and whatever games that Adkins and I decide to spend our time playing for the next week. So be here next Monday for the big kind of next gen kickoff show, and then the next week after that it'll be PS5, and then fuck knows, we'll be coming towards the end of the year and getting the quiz in. The Fantasy Gaming League's got to be drawn to a close. That's still running down to the fucking wire. dimpdigital.com, find that. So loads of stuff going on here. We're going to be kept extra busy, and then we're going to have a nice well-earned rest over Christmas, and we'll see you all the next year. But still a lot to do between now and the end of the year, but nothing more for us to say apart from thanks for your time and ta-da.
This was a Dimp Digital production.